College Success Arizona presents Student Stories. The feature of the following story and interview is Taylor Tran.
I was born in California and I was raised in Yuma, Arizona.
And what was it like being raised in Yuma, Arizona?
It was really hot. I lived there for 15 years, so I've grown up in like a small city my entire life.
You lived the first 4 or 5 years, or the first 3 years of your life in California?
No, I only lived in California for like a year, and then I moved to Phoenix, and then my parents started up a business in Yuma, so since then I've lived there for like 15 or 16 years. I started kindergarten in Yuma.
And where did you graduate high school?
Cibola High School.
Cibola High
Yuma,
School?
Arizona.
Gotcha. Okay. And what are you doing now so far as your education?
Right now, I am taking my last class as an undergraduate at the University of Arizona, and I'm applying for jobs, so I should be hearing back from them in August. I'm taking a year off before I apply to an AUD program for audiology.
Gotcha. So you're about to graduate with your bachelor degree?
Yes, I'm about to graduate with my bachelor's in speech, language, and hearing science.
And what does that enable you to do as a career?
I would like to become an audiologist, so a hearing doctor.
Ultimately, you would have a doctorate or an MD?
Yes.
And how long would that take? How much more study?
4 more years.
And tell us, what would you do as a hearing doctor?
I would perform hearing tests. I would recommend hearing aids. Yeah, that's basically it. Perform hearing tests and recommend and prescribe hearing aids or cochlear implants for my patients.
Cochlear implants, those help patients who are deaf or nearly deaf regain some of their hearing or full hearing?
Yes.
Where does the interest in hearing and audiology come from?
It started with my freshman year. I came in as a pharmacy major, but I ended up taking a general education course that was called Health, Hearing, and Society, and that class taught me that I could actually pursue a career in audiology. I didn't even know what an audiologist was. I didn't know that you could specify in hearing. And the reason why I became interested was because I thought back to my father, because as I was taking the class, I found out that loud speaking is like an indication of hearing loss, and I grew up with my dad who speaks Vietnamese, and he tends to yell whether he's speaking Vietnamese or English. So I just became curious of whether he was at risk later on as he grows older of a hearing loss or not. So that's where the interest came up.
Is it a difficult thing to learn?
The audiology or?
Yes.
At first it was because I was new to everything, but now it's getting easier, especially since I feel like I can relate to it. Because my dad isn't the only one, the only family member that I feel like might be at risk of a hearing loss in the future.
So you're born and raised, you're born in California, you're raised in Yuma, you graduate from Cibola High School, you attend the University of Arizona in Tucson, you're about to graduate with your bachelor degree, and then you said your next goal is to move on to NAU and Flagstaff?
No, my next goal is to go to a graduate school anywhere, whether it be in Arizona or on the east side. I haven't decided exactly on where I'm applying, but I know for sure I'm going to grad school. NAU doesn't have an audiology program, but I'm planning to apply to ASU, here at U of A, and University of Washington and other schools.
And if you can, talk about all the transition you've gone through from Yuma to Tucson, from high school to university, from your parents' home to living independently. Talk about all the changes and growth that occurred or resulted from that.
From high school to college was very different for me. I wasn't very involved in high school at all. I just went to school and home from school. But when I came to the U of A, I got involved with this cultural association on campus. It's called the Asian Pacific American Student Affairs. And I got involved in some of the clubs. I was the club liaison chair. And then I became vice president, and just recently, my last year at the U of A, I was on the board of directors for that organization. I became more involved in school.
And how old are you currently?
I'm 22.
What have been the biggest challenges in college?
I would say my biggest challenge was being able to balance my academics with extracurricular activities, because like I said, I was really involved throughout my entire 4 years here. I wasn't just involved with the organization. I was in a pageant. I was part of an honor society. I was a mentor for middle school students here at the U of A through a program through the College of Education. I did a lot of different things But I would say my biggest struggle was balancing it all.
And talk about getting the scholarship from College Success Arizona, which provides up to $6,000 per year for educational expenses. How has that been helpful in limiting or avoiding student debt?
It's been really, really helpful for my parents. Like we haven't, especially since I have a brother and he doesn't have any scholarships, so they have to really focus on paying for him every year. But this scholarship has really helped, like my family personally, because they don't have to pay as much for both of us.
And Matt Sotelo is your success advisor, essentially your mentor provided by College Success Arizona. Can you talk how Matt has had an impact in your life in college?
Yes, he's really helpful. I met up with him at least twice a semester, and each time, I always came to him really stressed out because, like I said, I was having trouble balancing my academics with my extracurricular activities. Matt was the one that suggested that I cut back on some of my extracurricular activities once I felt like I was struggling, and I did do that, and I saw myself doing a lot better. Just talking to him in general made me feel better because he was someone I could always open up to, and he gave really good advice too.
And Taylor, what advice can you offer to middle and high school students in Yuma and elsewhere who are considering their own possible path to college?
I think I would tell them to focus on their academics, especially their first 2 years. That's very important because once you get to junior year, it gets a lot harder. I didn't realize how important the first 2 years of being at the U of A was until I got to my junior year, because that's when it gets a lot harder. And if I didn't maintain that 3.0 by the time I got to junior year, I don't know. I think I would have been even more stressed.
And long term, do you want to stay in Arizona, maybe return to Yuma?
I don't plan to return to Yuma, not to work. I just go there to visit because that's where my family lives. But I would like to eventually work in California or one of the bigger states because I've grown up in a small city my entire life.
So you're thinking Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, something like that?
Yeah. I plan to visit Yuma every once in a while because that's where my family is and that's where my friends are, or most of my friends that I grew up with. But I don't plan to go there to work because it's such a small town, a small city, and I want to expand and live elsewhere.
Thank you, Taylor, for the interview and for working so hard to make a difference in our community.